So to help your May 24 preparations go in full swing, this is a video which tries to give you guidance on a lot of aspects regarding how many days do you need for your revisions in general, when do we do the MCQs, when do we write the test, how do you plan overall. So we'll keep it short and hopefully this should be of help for you. So first of all, for your May 24 preparations, we will share you a revision planner. So I'll just come to that revision planner that we've prepared on a broad overall basis, and separately we'll do it for FR and AFM in subsequent videos. But to start with, we need to make a firm decision on whether we are going for two groups or whether we are going for a single group. Though now, if you had given the November 23 exams and you were fairly close, maybe a 10-15% range of passing, I would strongly recommend that you can try two groups, considering you have relatively lesser papers and MCQs as well in papers like FR and AFM. But again, if you want to go for one group, so be it, but you take that decision, you will not kind of waver around. So let us assume you have taken the decision for two groups, and we'll generally kind of proceed with two groups and then come on to what we are giving a single group. So if you are giving two groups, first you need to check with yourself whether your lectures are over. If not, on a fast track basis, just try to complete your lectures as a priority. From the day we are recording the lecture, approximately 100 days are remaining for the exam. We will always argue that, sir, elections are around the corner, but as per prudence and conservatism, we will assume that the exams start on 1st May. If you get a little more lead time, so be it. Let's treat it as your buffer, or maybe treat it for additional practice. Do not plan for a June or a May mid exam as of now. Stick with 1st May. Do not refer to different, do not ask advices other than a few selected people in the country. No one knows when the elections are going to happen, so that is all speculation. Next, you will try to break down the 100 days. Try to have a broad overall plan. When I say broad overall plan, how many revisions do I need? Ideally, I would prefer if you go for two revisions. If you have a little more time, then probably 3 for theory, but 2 revisions would be more than sufficient. They are apt. Even I did 2 revisions in my exam. We spoke to a lot of people who have also done 2 revisions. So don't go behind the number of revisions. Try to do the revisions in a much more effective way. That really helps. Try to break down the 100 days first on a broad basis. How many days, by which date should I complete my first overall revision, and my second overall revision has to get over by 24th April latest, because if my exam is 1st May, a week before I should keep, let us say, as a buffer or for FR preparation. So you need to broadly figure out your 100-day plan from now, and then once you figure out your 100-day plan, and we have outlined 4 possibilities, we'll come to that, but then we will go to the next 10 days. So whenever you have the broad plan in place, then for the next 10 days, you should have a granular plan. So how many, which all subjects are you doing, how many hours, and what is your target on a granular basis to be completed for the next 10 days. You don't need to plan out the entire 100 days, but you need to plan out the next 10 days in a little bit of detail. And more than planning, sticking to that plan is even more important. It is important that your plans are realistic and not unachievable. Okay, keep your plans realistic. 2 revisions, as we said, is recommended. For MCQs, for subjects like FR and AFM, they are relatively new. I would strongly recommend that you practice it along with the chapter. You don't need a separate practice for MCQ. We have shared the MCQ bank for FR. AFM also will be sharing, let us say, in a week or so. So you can refer that. Apart from that, the ICAI BOS student login also has multiple quizzes. After each chapter, you can try to solve that and get some confidence. Just kind of bookmark or mark out MCQs which you are unable to solve. You don't need a separate detailed only MCQ preparation. MCQs are there to help you. Remember, they are not really there to kind of put you down. They will actually help your scoring pattern even better. Should we write tests? Well, it is subjective. It depends. But if you are short of time, I would strongly recommend writing at least 1 full test. Preferably after your revision, maybe if time permits after your first, or preferably after the second revision. 1 test, if you have joined the test series, so be it. Otherwise, a recent institute exam question is generally the best place to write. Time yourself, see how you have performed in general. That will give you a very good perspective. So when we look at the revision planner, assuming you are giving 2 groups, every student would be at a different stage in their preparation, and hence we have kind of given 4 different milestones, in the sense that what if we have completed our lectures and we are starting our revision, or we have already started, that is the first column. Then what if we are planning to start our revision from 31st January, from 10th of February, and then from 20th February. Beyond 20th February is a little risky. Even 20th February is touch and go, but by that time you should definitely start with your proper revision if you are out of your if you are still kind of covering your course. If you have already done, then preferably the earlier you complete the better, but assuming you are starting your revision from today, then today meaning let us say 20th of January, assuming you are starting, if you have already started, nothing like it. If you are already a few days done, then your target completion would be earlier. Assuming you are starting today, then your first revision should get done by 10th of March. On an average, we allocate 10 days a subject, that is around 60 days is needed. If you have already started, nothing like it. Probably if you have already started by the beginning of January, then you should be able to complete by the end of February or middle of February. The earlier the better, right? So, but now, assuming you're starting now, 10th of March should be your absolute last day. We allocate around 10 days per subject, in which probably subjects like FR will take slightly more. It will take probably around 12 to 14 days on an average, whereas subject like audit or maybe IDT will take slightly less. Sir, are we counting 5 subjects? Are we counting 8 subjects? Or are we counting 6 subjects? Well, I'm counting effectively 6 subjects. When you prepare for the IBS paper, for IBS, when you prepare for the first 5 subjects, by and large it gets done. There are a few case studies that you will solve, that does not take 10 days, but you will have to study a bit of costing and law. So all said and done, I would say IBS also you allocate 10 days, probably a couple of days within that should be for your case studies, and maybe around 3 to 4 days each for your broad law and costing preparation. Apart from that, your core subjects would be now a 120 mark subject rather than being a 100 mark paper. So first you finish the revision for your core papers, the first 5 papers, and then touch the IBS paper. Do not kind of juggle around, do the IBS work at the end. That is sufficient. So on an average 10 days should be sufficient. Then when you do your second revision, the general rule is the second revision will take anywhere between 60 to 70% time of your first revision. It is not going to happen that your FR first revision took around 14 or 15 days and the second revision suddenly will take 5 days. No. So if your first revision took, for example, around 12 to 14 days, let's say 14 days, then your second revision will take probably around 8 to 9 days. So plan around 60 to 70% time. So I would allocate on an average 7 days for each subject for your second revision. So that is on an average approximately 40 days. So if we have already done and we are starting a revision now, or we gave the November 23 exams and we are just getting back into the groove now, then I would strongly recommend you have the 100-day plan where you have around 60 days for your first revision and around 40 days for your second revision, and that is absolutely apt. If you have some backlog and you believe that we will be able to complete that backlog, let us say by 31st January, first finish that backlog, get that baggage out of your head of your lectures, and let us say from 31st January, you are starting your revision. There is a very high possibility you may need additional help in a subject or two. So yes, maybe you are watching 2 to 3 hours of lecture for that subject, but other than that, the remaining time you are devoting to revision, even that works. So over here from that date, I would say that 15th of March would be the date where you should complete your first revision. We have a slightly lesser time. On an average, we have 8 days. So you need to kind of be a little more fast and selective when you are doing your revision. By selective, I don't mean that you leave out stuff. I mean that you kind of try to pros and cons, and try to do the lesser important parts slightly faster and focus more of your energy on the more important ones. So that is around 50 days overall and around 8 days. Then when you go from 31st Jan to let's say 10th February or 20th February, your average days will keep on falling by a day each. So instead of having 8 days, you will have just 7 days a subject and then 6 days a subject, which I would say is quite tight. It is a little pressured, but with the right mindset and with the right efforts, even that is achievable. Still, you should plan to have that second revision, where if you go to see, on an average we have said 40, 35, 30 and 25 days on an average, with different dates and timelines given. So that is the broad revision schedule. Overall, yes, on a subject wise basis, we will share it separately for FR and AFM, but I hope this helps you in general. Now for students who are giving just one group, let us say you're giving group 1, then you have double the time and you have MCQs to cover, let us say for FR, and for AFM you have a couple of additional topics to cover with some theory. So that is there, and there is a topic on audit. So probably you can plan 2 revisions for FR and AFM and probably 3 for audit, considering a theory paper, and you can write slightly more tests if you are giving just one group. If you are giving the second group, again you are doing 2 papers, and for IBS you will need a little more effort because you will have to go through the first 3 papers as well. If you have already cleared, you will still have a fairly good idea, and if not, it's a little tricky situation. If you are just giving group 2, you will have to have some help for your paper 1, 2 and 3, especially for IBS. So plan your studies accordingly. Just ensure you have the right frame of mind. You have sufficient time. Don't speculate regarding elections. You have sufficient time. You have it in you, and I'm sure you will do it. So that's it for your broad overall revision planner. We'll share this PDF also on Telegram so that you have a broad target in your mind. But while studying, ensure that you kind of do a detailed working for each of the next 10 days. Some students prefer doing one subject at a time. Some students prefer combining a theory and practical. That's fine, but I would not recommend doing more than 2 subjects in a single day. It does not give you that depth to absorb the true essence of a subject. So ensure that you try to keep it up to a subject a day. That should be it. Good luck, and I'll see you soon with the next video. Please do like, share and subscribe, and good luck again.